Welcome to the CKB tutorial on advanced searches, only available in CKB Boost. Are you a CKB Boost subscriber but have never tried the advanced searches? Or maybe you're a frequent core user and want to know more about those advanced searches? Then you've come to the right place. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through each of the advanced searches with a case study highlighting several features that can help you quickly find the information you might need. If you want to look at all the evidence for a gene or variant, then Explore by Gene or Explore by Variant will be the way to go. But sometimes you may want to further restrain your search results, either because of the amount of evidence available or because you want to look for more specific evidence that fits your patient. In that case, you'll want one of our advanced searches. There are two advanced searches, one for efficacy evidence and one for clinical trials. And we'll cover both in this tutorial, so let's go. Let's look at a potential case where you have a cholangiocarcinoma patient with an FGFR2 CORO2B fusion. You want to see what potential treatment options are available for your patient. First, you'll need to click on Evidence Search link under the Advanced Search options on the main Boost page. Once in the Advanced Search page, you can begin filling out any of the relevant fields. Although you can fill in any field you want, you will need to fill in at least one parameter from either molecular profile, drug, or indication tumor type. Before we dive in, let's cover some general terminology that we use in CKB. A molecular profile consists of one or more genomic alterations, such as a missense or nonsense variant or fusion, or nonspecific variants such as activating or inactivating mutations or amplification. If more than one variant or alteration is included, for example, a fusion and a missense variant, we call that a complex molecular profile. As you begin typing in your variant, the drop-down will filter to provide you with potential options. Once you see the molecular profile that you're interested in, you can click on it to select it. You may also see complex molecular profiles in the drop-down as well. This indicates that we have an efficacy evidence line for that particular profile. If you don't see the specific variant you're looking for, you can request that we curate it. Just click on the Request Content green button on the main page, and one of our curators will review the information. If you wanted to see all of the evidence for a specific drug, you can select it in the drug field. This could include evidence with a monotherapy or combination therapies. For our patient, we'll want to add cholangiocarcinoma in the indication field. There's an option in the indication field to include child terms. We utilize the disease ontology for tumor types in CKB, also called the DO, which is linked in the glossary of terms under the Help menu. The DO organizes indications into a tree-like structure with more specific indications located within a broader branch of the tree. We call these parent terms and child terms. An example would be lung adenocarcinoma is a child of non-small cell lung cancer. The benefit of adding child terms is that it provides you with more efficacy evidence that might be relevant and provides you with additional options. In our case, by using child terms, we'll also pull in evidence from intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma. Although adding child terms can be helpful, there may be times when using child terms may not be appropriate. It may result in pulling in evidence from tumor types that are not sufficiently similar, or it may result in more evidence than is helpful. If that is the case, you can always repeat your search without the child term selected. The response type field allows you to select a specific response, such as sensitive, resistant, or no benefit. If you're looking for drugs that your patient is likely to respond to, you would select sensitive. You may also want to know if there are therapies to avoid that because they may not be effective in your patient based on the molecular profile and indication, in which case select resistant. Lastly, evidence type allows you to search specifically for actionable evidence as opposed to diagnostic, emerging, prognostic, or risk factor. One thing to note is that the first three fields, molecular profile, drug, and indication, are free text fields, in which as you start typing, we'll provide a drop-down of options based on what you enter. The last two fields use controlled vocabulary, which makes it easy to filter and sort, as we will soon see. After we've made all of our selections, we hit Submit and see the results of our search. At the top of the screen, we have the parameters that we entered in for this search. In this search, I chose to include child terms, and you can see how that increased the amount of efficacy evidence that my search returned. If I'd only searched on cholangiocarcinoma, I would have missed this line of evidence for intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma. Under that will be our table of efficacy evidence. Starting from the left is molecular profile, indication, response type, therapy name. If you included a drug as your search parameter, then all the therapies will contain that drug, but the combination therapies will contain other drugs. Approval status, which includes clinical, such as FDA approvals, guidelines, phase 1 through 3 trials, case reports, all the way down to preclinical data. Next is evidence type, which in this case includes actionable. The next column is the efficacy evidence line, a single sentence summarizing the data that connects the molecular profile, indication, and therapy. All of the data in CKB is referenced to peer-reviewed publications from journals indexed in PubMed, and published abstracts from meetings such as ASCO, AACR, and ESMO, and each reference is hyperlinked in case you'd like more information. The last two columns includes the evidence level and inferred tier for evidence annotation based on the AMP, CAP, ASCO guidelines for somatic variant reporting. The corresponding molecular profile is inferred based on the specific annotation, but could have higher inferred tier depending on the evidence. Each column is sortable or filterable, so if you only wanted to see evidence from case reports, you can filter on that. Let's consider a similar search, but in this case we have a patient with the same fusion, but who has progressed on treatment with pemigatinib, and recent sequencing data shows an FGFR2 N549D variant. We can search for this complex molecular profile, and in our results, we see a case report for a patient who has progressed on pemigatinib and acquired the same resistant variant. However, in the same search, we can see that there's a sensitive line with this complex molecular profile with futibatinib. Advanced evidence searching is a way to identify specific evidence that may be applicable for an individual patient. In this search, we found a potential therapy option for our patient. However, if we needed additional options, we may also want to see if our patient qualifies for any clinical trials. Another advanced search option available in Boost is Advanced Clinical Trials. This search allows you to look for specific clinical trials that may be applicable for a patient. Just like with the evidence search, you will need to enter a parameter into one of at least the gene variant, drug, or indication fields. Also similar to evidence search, you can choose to include child terms to broaden your search. What's different in this search is that instead of response type and evidence type, we now have two different fields, phase and country. Phase allows you to search for a specific phase trial, for example, trials ranging from phase 1 through phase 3. Country allows you to search for trials that are recruiting in specific covered countries. The current countries we cover are Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, New Zealand, Spain, United Kingdom, and United States. If you choose either United States or Canada, you can also choose a state or province. Let's use the same example as before. Once we add our search parameters and hit submit, we will receive our search results. Our selected parameters will be listed at the top of the results screen. Underneath will be the search results. In our case, we don't have any specific clinical trials listed in the directly associated clinical trials tab, which would include any trials that include the specific search parameters. But I can see by this number in this gray oval that there are clinical trials available at the gene level. Clicking on this tab brings us to our clinical trials table. The first column is the clinical trial NCTID from clinicaltrials.gov. The next column indicates whether the clinical trial has any variant requirements. Next to that will be all the therapies that are being investigated in that clinical trial. The next column will be the phase, and after that, the title of the clinical trial. And the next column will be the indications that are being recruited on. Since we selected cholangiocarcinoma, either that indication or one of its child indications will be listed, but there may be more indications listed as well. The recruitment status comes from clinicaltrials.gov and is updated every night, so this will tell you the current status of the trial. Every column is both sortable and filterable, so we can filter this column to show only the trials that are recruiting. The last two columns will tell you which of our covered countries is listed, and if there are other countries that we don't currently cover, that number will be listed in the last column. Once you identify a clinical trial that you would like more information on, you can click on the NCTID in the first column, and it will bring you to the clinical trial detail page. In this page will be listed all the information from the table as well as eligible gender and age groups. We link back to clinicaltrials.gov via the NCTID at the top. At the bottom of the page is a table showing the variant requirements. In this case, FGFR2 fusion is partially required, which means it may be required on a specific arm or be part of a list of potential variants that are being recruited on. This is an example of a category variant. We use these variants in cases where a type or group of variants is given, but not specific variants. Since our patient has the FGFR2 CORO2B fusion, it would be considered a member of the FGFR2 fusion category, and our patient may potentially qualify for this trial. We can click on the Locations tab to see where this trial is being conducted. This is an example of how you can use different advanced searches to find applicable individualized treatments or access to different clinical trials using both indication trial terms and category variants. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at the email address listed on the screen.